Happy Father's Day weekend. You know, my dad didn't lecture, but he taught me so much. I mean, I remember a time when our business was growing. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had a TV shop, and we were turning it into some video stores. And I think we were just getting ready to open up our second video store, but we were still selling TVs and appliances. And I was the general manager because he and my mom were focused on doing some stuff on the financial end. So they made me the general manager. As a 19-year-old kid, I'm running like 40 people and a little bit above my abilities. But I'm back in the warehouse, kind of moving some TVs around. And I just remember my dad comes in and he's upset. And I'm back there working and he says, "What is this?" And he holds up in his hand this Rubbermaid garbage can, right? And he says, "What is this? Did you just fall off the turnip truck?" And I was like, I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded like he thought I might be an idiot. And so I was like, I just looked at him kind of puzzled. And he says, "What are those?" I said, "Those are empty boxes." And he just looked at me and shook his head, and he walked away. As he walked away, he threw his cigarette on the ground. He threw the Rubbermaid garbage can in the air, and it dropped all over the place. And we never spoke of it again. And now I don't know what he meant by that, but I'm here with Tim Mulligan and Marcus Haney, and my dad came in and just started asking a couple of tough questions for me. And I'm still trying to figure out, what his motive was. What do you think, Tim?
Well, that is much more nuanced than I ever thought that was. I mean, you've mentioned the can, but I thought he closed the loop on that and said specifically, "Look, man, we have trash cans. They're free." But no, he actually left it open-ended so you could...
He pointed to the little boxes that we had for the TVs and stuff that are empty that we could use as trash cans. We've been using these things as trash cans for the life of the business. My dad had never bought a trash can before. And now that we're starting to advance into the video business, video rentals, we're thinking, well, we better, I was empowered. We're getting ready to open up our new store. I was the guy that had to go set up the store, right? Buy the brooms, buy the mops, decide what we're going to have in a new store. Well, I figured as long as I was out there, I might as well pick up a Rubbermaid garbage can for our main store. And my dad, I think, thought that might be a waste of money.
Did you ever do that again?
We opened up a lot of stores. I bought a lot of garbage cans in my day. We never spoke at it again. I don't know. I think this was the early 80s, and I think he was... they hadn't always had the most financial success, but Sure. Things were starting to click, and he didn't want to waste it on things that were, less practical for the business, right? He thought we ought to buy movies and fixtures and things like that. And garbage cans, when you can get them for free, why would you buy it, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, I think that sticks with you as far as, for me, I think he left me wondering and left me trying to figure it out, and I knew what he meant, but we didn't have to talk about it a lot for me to learn.
How do you think that steered you in the future with future business opportunities?
You know what? I think it's affected me in a way that I reflect back on when you're going through tough times. You do have to be able to cut costs. You do have to be able to watch the pennies. Every penny counts. But I mean, we're sitting here it's Entrepreneurs Unlimited, and we're talking about building businesses and learning lessons, but it's also Father's Day weekend. Now, Marcus, you're a father. Tim, you're a father of 5. Talk to us about lessons that we might learn as fathers or as from our fathers, and how those might correlate with being an entrepreneur, because isn't entrepreneurship and being a dad very similar? I mean, the buck stops here. What do you think, Tim?
Wow, yes, that is a good analogy. I think at the end of the day, right, we all get judged by our actions. Never mind what you said. Your recollections of your dad are going to be what he did and not always what he said. And so, if that means getting there early and staying late, or being a trooper, or being yourself,
Yeah.
There's some definite analogies between the two.
Dad's got to lead by example. How about you, Marcus? Any thoughts? You're a father. Obviously, you had one of those fathers that liked to lecture, which may not have been the most effective.
You were a great father growing up and taught me a lot of things that stuck with me. But also, like I've stated in previous shows, you allowed me the opportunity to grow for myself and find out my own path. But I try to instill in Hunter to always stay humble and kind. And if any of you guys have heard that Tim McGraw song out there, it really drives home a good point.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was asking my wife before the show, honey, what is something that your dad taught to you when you were a young person? And she said, he taught me that his money was as important to him as her money was to her. And I think that's an interesting thing because you get to, sometimes as young people, you got your parents' money and you end up, blowing it. But once you make your own money, it becomes so much more valuable. And I think maybe that was the lesson that my dad was trying to share with me is, hey, this is my money, young man. You don't need to go waste it on Rubbermaid garbage cans that cost $2.99, right? Every penny counts. Dad cannot call in sick. Dad can't make excuses. Dad can't whine about how hard things are. Dad can't say, it's not fair. I have to mow the lawn, right? He's dad. He's got to lead by example. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Coming up in the show, we're going to be talking to three dads. We're going to continue to talk to Tim Mulligan and Marcus Haney, but we're bringing on two other guys. I guess that makes four total, right? So we're going to have, coming up in the show, we're going to have Mr. Paul Summerhausen. He is with Sacto Mofo. But after the break, you're going to meet Jeremy Perkins, owner of Business Journal's fastest growing company, 2 years in a row. He's with Precision Medical Products. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140, KHTK, streaming live podcast and YouTube at haneybiz.com. Welcome back. We are here with Jeremy Perkins, my friend, and he's the owner of Business Journal's fastest growing company, 2 years in a row. He's with Precision Medical Products. How you doing, Jeremy?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now, 2 years in a row, back-to-back, is the fastest growing in our region? How do you pull that off?
Yeah, so we, from 2011 to 13, we won fastest growing company in Sacramento, 2-year run rate. And that was somewhat easy because the key with that is just don't do anything in sales. Really low sales
you start at a very low number and you can get fast growth that first year.
So from 2011 to 13 was a little bit easier to hit, and then but we actually did it from 2012 to 14, that 2-year run rate also. And we're only the second company ever in the history of that rankings, the SAC Business Journal, to do that. So that was the one that was pretty,
how fast was that growth,
cool.
percentage-wise?
The first time we were 808, a little over 800% growth.
Wow, 800% growth. And what about second year?
350.
What about now?
We're trying to get 20%.
The law of big numbers can kind of catch up with you. You can go from 300 or 800% down to 300. Now it's 20, and that's still good. Anything in the double digits. Once you're a more mature company like yourself, that's very fast growth. Now, give us an overview of Precision Medical Products.
Yeah, let me hit one point real quick.
Yeah.
My CPA has sat down with me the last 2 years. Like, look, 20% growth is great. Just sustainable, good growth is all we want. We don't want anything too crazy because you can outgrow yourself sometimes. So
so we could talk about that too. I have been around some companies. I mean, I had one company that we grew from like 30 to 50 to 85 million to 115, 150, 180. And, next thing you know, your line of credit looks like, I better start getting some of that debt paid down.
Yeah.
So, it can catch up with you. But, okay, tell us about your business.
So I formed Precision Medical Products back at the end of 2009 and started my garage. It was just your true startup, man.
Garage.
Exactly. Just, you have your storage racks and medical equipment in the garage, and you're just hustling, trying to get those first accounts and just, trying to earn it, like just every day, 80 hours a week, trying to ground and pound, earn people's trust, and just one by one grow the business. And then brought on another sales rep, another one, and over 6 years, we grew the company from 2 people to 126 people.
Wow. And now you guys are selling medical products to whom?
Well, our end user is technically the doctor because he's writing the prescription, and then we have one of our slight edge things is that we made a decision at the beginning to actually take our fitting specialists and go to patients' homes.
Okay.
And get them fit in their own home, and that was something that set us apart. Instead of most people, you have to come to some locations. We just made it easier on patients.
Yeah. So you have that relationship with the end user, and you're able to pull that through the doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, getting started in that business, you say you started in your garage, but you got started going door to door, getting the door slammed on you once or twice, right?
Exactly.
How did you start off, and what kind of character does that build?
So door to door book sales, man. I did that all through college, and I'd say that's a foundation of. If I had to attribute one thing that allowed us to be successful really quickly in medical, it was having that foundation. Perfect your craft. Whatever you're going to do, if you're an entrepreneur, perfect what you're going to do. At the end of the day, we're in sales, we're in distribution, and those early days in college of just going door to door, knocking on doors, 80 hours a week in the summer.
Wow,
hot summer heat. We actually would go to the Midwest for the summer. The college students from California, we go out to the Midwest, live in the Midwest for summer, and sell education material door to door. And that was just a great experience of learning how to approach people, talk to people, how to close, how to answer objections.
Yeah, something every entrepreneur is a salesperson in some way. Even if you're not great at sales, you need to be able to convince people to do things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your team. You've obviously you've convinced 120 people to go to war with you. Tell us about your team.
Yeah, so within our company, we have 3 divisions. Obviously, I think the backbone of any company is like your sales and marketing. So that's pretty much when the company was started. First, I'd say 5 or 6 key people were all, the salespeople. And when you're a new company, you do everything, right? So like I'd say that first year, I was the CFO, the COO, the CEO, and all whatever titles you want to have. But at the end of the day, you're just doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So we definitely have the sales and fitting specialists end of our company, which is what brings in all the revenue into the company. And then the next division would be operations. So that's controlling all the inventory. We do about $20 million a year in revenue, but it's not revenue of big medical equipment. It's our typical product's $200-$300. So it's not something that's we're not selling these $1 million capital machines. We're doing real small stuff. So. Inventory, back office, operations side, and then the third division is this is where you become profitable or not. Is the billing, AR, admin, and that's what really keeps you profit.
What's your strength? What are you best at?
Not the admin part. Sure, not
really.
Billing. No.
I hope you have somebody that handles that stuff for you.
Yeah,
that you love. That is a stud.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, in the very beginning. One of our first 3 employees was I'm lucky too. I get to work with my best friends, but one of my best friends in the world, Mark Reynolds, came in and he just owned it. He's very meticulous, very knows all the numbers, very gets in all the details, and just became an absolute billing expert. So.
And what would you say to that man right now?
I love you, Mark. I owe you big time, man.
I love it. Now, it's never easy. You're growing like crazy. So I have a question about how do you finance that growth and keep the bills paid when you're growing that fast?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good things I learned in college by selling books, but that wasn't the finance wasn't one of them. I'd say probably that's the hardest struggle of most entrepreneurs to say is getting funding, right, and being able to finance it. I finance the company 100%. Even to this day, we have no outside funding at all.
Wow.
So it's 100% finance, with the exception of we have a small line of credit from Wells Fargo.
Okay.
But $500,000. But when you're doing $20 million a year in revenue, $500,000 is not really.
Yeah, I need to get you introduced to 5 Star Bank. My good friend James Beckwith over there would probably love to meet you if you're free. They're the Entrepreneurs Bank, and they're a sponsor of the show, and they're a great bank. We deal with them in our businesses as well. But thinking about the challenges of financing, thinking about the challenges of the people side of things, growing the people. What are the biggest challenges that you've really faced that make you maybe even second guess yourself over the years?
Well, back to the finance would be the biggest challenge, because when you're growing that fast, you have to understand the finance arm of the company, because we were in a unique position. We were growing so fast and we had so many sales. And in our industry, we're 6 months behind on our AR. So if we make a sale, we're not going to get paid for 6 months, pretty much.
Right. You get paid from the insurance company, or who pays you? The doctor?
Exactly.
Okay, the insurance company.
So you can almost outgrow yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just understanding that almost
Yeah, you've got to pay the bill in 30 days, 60 days, or up front, and you're waiting 6 months to pay. So the faster you grow, the more it kills you on cash.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually went on like a 12-month hiring or I think it was 10-month hiring freeze, where we didn't hire any new sales reps. We're in 18 states now, and we had a whole growth and expansion plan, but we stopped hiring because we actually had to catch up on the sales we made. We just had grown so fast with financing.
Any big lessons you learned along the way?
If I had to share one thing, when I was driving over here this morning, like what would be like one thing I'd share with like a young entrepreneur? And I read a book. I read it multiple times, but it's called The Magic of Thinking Big. Have you?
Yeah, I know that book.
So just having a big goal, something that inspires you when you wake up in the morning, it motivates you, and it's something that fires you up in the morning, and that's the magic of thinking big. So we set big goals, and to be honest, we didn't hit them. But when you set really, really big goals, we were trying to, and we still will. Our goals,
you mean 800%? You had a goal bigger than 800% growth?
Yeah, it wasn't. But when you're only in the beginning, when you're only doing like $500,000 your first year, it's all like percentages. It's kind of a little bit misleading. But the goal was always to be a $100 million company, and that's still the goal. Like we're at $20 million now. It's like, how do you get to be a $100 million company? And that's something that really inspires me. And it's a number, like it's just something to strive to. But
big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah, BHAG.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. So that's something every young entrepreneur should have is a BHAG, and something that like motivates you and fires you up. And it could be whether it's a revenue number or just changing an industry, disrupting it. That's something that I just really encourage. Magic of thinking big.
What's $100 million look like to Jeremy Perkins?
It's not. It's really weird because when I say $100 million, I think people think like $100 million. It's $100 million revenue. It's not that. It's if you're a $100 million company in our industry, you're providing jobs for about 500 people. It's a great lifestyle for the people that are going to do well and work hard. It's what comes with that. At $100 million, we're impacting roughly about 10,000 patients a year, their lives. And what we do, we actually, our medical equipment saves lives. So it's DVT prophylaxis. It's a number 2 leading cause of death in the hospital. Number 1 preventable cause of death that you can actually prevent it. If patients are just wearing these like calf squeezers after surgery, it prevents blood clots, which cause pulmonary embolisms.
Wow.
Not to bore people with medical stuff.
Well, you're doing something that's good for society, but as you grow, even from 0 to 20 million, and now the growth trajectory to get to 100, I mean, that's a lot of opportunity. It's not just jobs. It's jobs and leaders and managers of managers. I mean, at 120 people, currently you've created a ton of opportunity, but these are going to be some great jobs as you get there. Now,
let me just say real quick. So I get to wake up every morning, and literally the office next to me is my best friend in the world, Mark Bernardini. I get to work with him every day. My best friend that from college, he runs our San Francisco distributorship. Literally, if you took my like 15 best friends for the last 20 years of my life, we all work together. So it's like we go to a national sales meeting. And my wife's like, "You're just going to hang out with your friends." we run a company. Like we get to go on our incentive trips together. I mean, I literally absolutely love, and I'm saying it from not just people say I love going to work. I love like the people I work with. I absolutely love. They've been best friends before, and that's what's so cool, man. Is being able to develop a company and have your friends work with you. And it's we always do it in our EO group. We talk about like the 7 categories of life.
Yes,
and it's one thing I've always felt good at is like if I'm doing well at work, my friendships are usually doing pretty good too because it's. But if work's not going good, then friendships aren't good. So
that is very cool. And so the theme of today's show is fatherhood. And talk to us about anything you may have learned from your dad, or you're a father and you got a beautiful family. Talk to us about fatherhood and how that might relate to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and then we 7 weeks ago just had another one. So newborn, yeah.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's amazing. Being a father is awesome. It's it's probably everybody's got their certain things in life that motivate them. Like for me, it's my God, wife, and kids, and my business is fourth. We talked about the business a lot, but the kids are amazing. It's like it inspires me when I get home to go out and just play with them and have a blast. And it's funny because the boys and girls are so different. Like Jackson's like a very he'll snowboard. He rides on boxes and rails. He's like all aggressive snowboarder. And the girls are just, they melt your heart, right? You come home, they're like, hug your leg. And I don't know. I love my kids.
If you don't love Jeremy Perkins, you don't love entrepreneurship. Listen to this man talk about his friends, his family, his business, the growth, the passion, what it is going to be like to continue that growth trajectory. Jeremy, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. You are awesome. You inspired me, make me want to go grow my companies. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140 KHTK and streaming live podcast on YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. And welcome back. We are here with a man who is helping provide entrepreneurial opportunity in the growing food truck industry, Mr. Paul Sommerhausen, owner, director of Sacto Mofo. How you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming on the show and talk to us about your business. What is Sacto Mofo?
We're basically an event production company and a food truck brokerage company. So we provide opportunities for food trucks to be successful. The hardest part of a food truck entrepreneur is to find opportunities once they start their truck and they get the road. It's difficult. The laws haven't caught up with the phenomena that are food trucks. So we try to find ways to where there's legal, safe, and profitable opportunities for food trucks to be able to be successful.
Now, how did you come up with the name?
A little closer to the mic.
Yeah, a little closer to the mic there. Thank you. How did you come up with the name Sacto Mofo? That sounds a little edgy, Paul. Come on.
Well, food trucks by design are edgy, so we wanted to come up with a name that would be memorable and that would be that would get a reaction from people. I think that's also key to the industry. That food trucks, you have to stand out, you have to be different, you have to look unique, and I think the branding matches that.
So you are putting together these events that bring in food trucks and like a street fair or something like that. Talk to us about what the events look like. Are they fun? How do these entrepreneurial guys, the food truck guys, how do they end up having more opportunity?
The concept of our events is to make it family friendly, approachable, easy, and fun. And so what we'll bring together a number of food trucks, generally 10 to 12 for a dinner event. We'll have face painting, we'll have balloon artists, we'll have bounce houses, we'll have live music.
So definitely for the kids.
And the focus obviously is for families with kids. That's been our main audience, and so we want to make sure that parents can come and hang out and have a good time and find something to eat. But the focus is always on the food. The food is the star. The food truck owners are the stars, and they do what they do best. And we just make sure everybody leaves well fed and happy.
And food trucks have become so popular. They're fun, and there's different kinds of food. I've seen lobster trucks. What's the most popular kind of food?
In Sacramento, in the broader Sacramento region, variations of hamburgers, bacon, comfort foods are definitely anything that's an all-American comfort food.
No health food stuff?
Health food just does not sell very well out of a food truck.
Okay. And so now you're putting together these events. There's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of people. You've got employees. What's the biggest challenges you run into in putting these things together?
The biggest challenges is in dealing with outdated regulations, in dealing with outdoor event planning concepts that are focused on large festivals and are not focused on small to medium-sized festivals like we produce, and always trying to figure out ways to have the various bureaucrats understand that what we're doing is family-friendly, it's free, it's approachable, and that we're not some fly-by-night renegades that are trying to just cause havoc. These are opportunities for this is the American dream come true. This anybody with a little bit of discipline, some savings, can start a food truck, think about a business plan, and put that on the road for a relatively small amount of money when it comes to being a business owner.
How many food trucks are here in the Sacramento region?
There's about 200 of them, but about a fourth of those are the gourmet variety.
A fourth of those, so that'd be about 50 gourmet, and a total of 200. How many do you think Sacramento could support? Is that enough?
In my opinion, it's not. The demand for food trucks has been very high, and for whatever reason in Sacramento, they haven't grown at the rate of the demand. I think this market could easily support another 25 to 40 food trucks of that variety, and everybody would still be doing quite well.
Are there any specific categories of food that are missing from our food truck arena?
When I compare our market to other markets like LA and San Francisco and Austin, I see a lack of ethnic diversity when it comes to the food here.
Okay.
And it surprises me because at least half our audience in Sacramento is of ethnic background.
Okay.
And particularly because most of the countries where this would be applicable, like Mexico and Asian countries, street food is a very normal part of life there. And yet here that hasn't translated into the gourmet variety of food trucks just yet.
And it sounded like women were a big part of the food truck experience. So there's more women and families. They sort of drive the meal stuff at home. How do you specifically cater to get women into your events?
I believe we just make sure that the event is family friendly. I think that's the key. And men are going to follow their women.
Yes.
Wherever they go. So that's the key, making it welcoming, making it safe. There is a ambivalence about food trucks that we have to get over. There's a very low expectation when people come to our event. So we work a lot on making sure that those expectations are exceeded. So when they come up to an event, the service experience is positive. We time everything. We work closely with the truck operators to make sure that their service experience is consistent. Our staff will reach out to the patrons and bust their tables and to do quality checks, the things that people just don't expect at an outdoor food truck event.
Yeah. So you know every food truck guy in Sacramento?
Not everyone, but most of them, yes.
Wow, what a great network of restaurateurs and people that are of entrepreneurs. And it goes through, you told me a story about your son. You have a 10-year-old son, and today's show is about fatherhood and how your son is actually looking at how the business might operate.
Well, he's obviously part of a lot of, when you're an entrepreneur, you work all the time. And so the phone rings all the time. And you don't think they're paying attention when they're sitting there playing on their gadgets and reading a book. But he clearly pays a lot of attention. And there's been multiple instances where he's given me remarks that far exceed his 10-year-old capacity, where he's doing some business analysis, or he's giving me ideas on how to better run my business, and it's really fun to see that.
Now some of these food trucks are these more generic-looking ones. They're just white trucks. They haven't taken advantage of the branding possibilities within the food truck industry. Now, didn't your son have some harsh words to say about those white vehicles?
Yes, a lot of my emphasis when I work with new truck owners is on making their marketing plans clear. If you have a clear brand, if you have a very identifiable brand, like in this city, Chando's and Drewski's and Crush Burger are brands that a lot of people can identify, and that's by the hard work of those owners. They thought about their branding and they worked and executed that branding strongly. So I talk about that a lot. And one day we were driving down the freeway and my son got very upset, and I asked him what was going on, and he told me that look on the other side of the freeway and there was a white, I think it was a taco truck that was not wrapped. And I asked him, why was he upset? He's like, why doesn't he get it? Doesn't he understand the power,
Come on,
the power
man.
of a wrap? He could make so much more money. Why won't he do it?
It's so basic, right?
It is.
Gosh, from a 10-year-old future entrepreneur, great business advice. You got to have the right brand and the right image. Now, what's the future of the food truck industry look like in Sacramento? Is it growing? What do we expect it to look like in years to come?
It's been growing dramatically year to year, and I think year to year there's about a 20 to 30% growth on average for the truck operators.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely something that has a bright future. The important part to understand about food trucks is they're not a destination. They're a stepping stone. It's an incubator for future opportunities. If you're coming into the market as a food truck operator wanting to run one truck for the rest of your life, that's not a good thought out business plan. You have to think of it as either you're going to start a fleet or you're going to look towards a restaurant or a brick and mortar, other opportunities, branding, franchising. There has to be a big plan. There has to look a step further. And I say that because the lifestyle of a food truck operator is really, really rough. It's about as tough a business as it gets. You're working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day in confined space. It's 20 degrees hotter inside when it's hot outside. It's 20 degrees colder
It's
inside.
real world entrepreneurship.
It is. And when it rains, you don't have opportunities.
Yeah.
If a parking attendant is having a bad day, he's going to chase you away from your spot. It has a lot of challenges.
And one last question as we kind of wrap up. I know you're helping create these entrepreneurial opportunities with the events, and your business model is based upon the success of your food trucks that are helping host the event. Talk to us about how when they succeed, you succeed.
I've always believed that the most powerful incentive to be successful is to base it on your performance, and how much more powerful can your performance be driven if it's not driven by the success of others. And it gives you two things. It gives you financial rewards, but it also gives you a personal reward when you see partners that you've worked with and that you started off in the beginning where you basically were both lost and trying to figure out how this all worked. And then as the years go by, you see them graduating and getting bigger and more trucks and brick and mortars. That's a really rewarding part of this industry.
Paul Sommerhausen, owner, Sacto Mofo. Coming up, thanks for coming on the show today, Paul. Coming up in the show, we are going to bring back Tim Mulligan. He's going to be talking about a new venture that the Haney Biz team is undertaking. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live podcast on YouTube, haneybiz.com. Welcome back, and I am back here with Tim Mulligan and Marcus Haney. And Tim, we're going to announce something on the show today, a new Haney Biz venture, and I want to bring you in to help me talk a little bit about that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Tell us what we got going over at Haney Biz.
Well, we're you and I just talked a little bit about, on this Father's Day, you may refer to your companies as your babies at time, and we're thinking about hatching one right here on the show.
Oh, right today. I'll play quarterback and you can spit it out.
Well, I've often thought that the entrepreneurial community would be interested in the conversations you and I have throughout
closer to the mic
the week. So this is just one of them, and maybe we can convey to potential entrepreneurs, guys that are on the sidelines, watching. It is true to say you and I have not rehearsed. We have talked very briefly about saying, hey, we have a great staff in the accounting department, and we have battle scars to share, right? That is something you and I have said, look, we're 50, we're not 20. These gray hairs were earned. We're kind of at that place in life where it's like, hey, why don't we, A, provide growth opportunities for our rockin' staff, and B, help young entrepreneurs that might be on the sidelines, and we may be able to help them demystify the mundane parts of being entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I think so many times having this show and being on the board of Entrepreneurs Organization and just being in this entrepreneurial community, I hear kind of a common thread from people who are starting their own business or thinking about starting their own business, or even people that are the small and medium-sized companies. There's a feeling as an entrepreneur that sometimes you're alone. And if you have somebody with the battle scars that you talked about, Tim, by your side, someone to kind of bounce things off of, that can be so helpful. And that's really what this show is all about. But if we could provide that on a more personalized level as Haney Biz, boy, we could be providing a great service to this entrepreneurial revolution that we're trying to ignite. And the other thing I hear about from entrepreneurs is, I wish I had this is going to sound kind of funny, but entrepreneurs saying, I wish I had somebody that held me accountable. I wish I had somebody, I have to hold myself accountable, which is, it's not easy to do. But if I had somebody to sort of remind me, to help me with my goals, to help me with my budget, help me with make sure I have a marketing plan, have some follow-up type of conversations that really kept me on track, that would be so helpful. I mean, so many times, Tim, people spend the majority of their time working in the business, right? And so many times you might be good at swinging a hammer or great at installing a security camera, but that's working in your business, working on your business, where you step back and go, what am I trying to accomplish here? What are my longer range plans? How am I going to put this all together? That's tougher to do, and we don't always allocate the time to that.
Absolutely. And that's where I think you can contribute in a major way, because, in terms of growing firms, right, from zero to whatever, time is a finite thing. And how you spend it matters a lot in terms of what you put in and what you get out. And so I think you could be helpful in terms of, hey, young entrepreneur or old entrepreneur, new entrepreneur, what are you spending your time on? And is it going? Is it supporting the goals that we agreed to, that we helped you agree to as an accounting accountability partner and so forth? So.
Yeah. And, nobody, just having an extra set of eyes on a problem, or more often on an opportunity, creativity tends to surface. And I think these older sets of eyes can be helpful. So we want to kind of, offer that up to the small and medium-sized businesses of the areas. If you want another set of eyes, Tim's a CPA. He's very understated. He's one of those finance guys that really has a sense of humor. He's a guy that you want to go out and have a beer with, and really makes having a business fun. And I think that's what it's all about. We want to win, and winning is fun. And I think between Tim, me, and the team, we think we can help entrepreneurs out there have a little fun, because nobody is great at everything. One guy might be great at sales and marketing. Another guy might be great at the product or the service, swinging the hammer. And then another guy might be great at the accounting and the finance and the organization piece. But I've never seen anybody who is great at all three. And we can kind of help fill in some of those gaps. So talk to me, talk to Tim, and hopefully we can help you. We've got how many P&Ls we got underneath us now?
About a dozen.
About a dozen P&Ls. So there's a lot of, we already have the system and the infrastructure set up over in Rockland. We've already got the personnel. We could add a few more companies to what we're doing, and make it create a win-win situation. And we're going to be selective on who we bring in, because we don't want to overload us at this point. But we also are looking for people who have greatness in their heart, entrepreneurs who want to really make a major change in their business. We think we can help uncover those hidden gems within your company and really keep you on track and help you to achieve those goals. I want to thank Jeremy Perkins, Paul Summerhausen for coming on the show. I want to thank our sponsor, Limitless Limo, LL916. And next week, coming on the show, we have a largest commercial property owner of retail in our region, Mr. Ethan Conrad. He'll be talking about his businesses, and we're going to be talking about measuring our progress in business and how we mark the key milestones along the way. I'll have some closing thoughts about fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and the successful correlation between the two. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140, KHTK, streaming live podcast on YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. Ronald Reagan said, all great change in America begins at the dinner table. And I've got this photo over here. This is the one that sits behind my desk at the office. And there's a picture of Ronald Reagan. It's got that quote. And it really, to me, hits home, because so much of the way our philosophies are shaped starts when we're younger at the dinner table, and it's our dads that so often inspire that dynamic at the dinner table. I'm back here with Marcus Haney and Tim Mulligan. Tim Mulligan, if I could say your name correctly. How you guys doing?
You got a mulligan on that one.
Yes. Now, as fathers, we talked about the correlation. Just as kind of any closing thoughts about the correlation between fatherhood and entrepreneurship?
Tone setting. Example setting, even if it's a bad example, right? I say that to my kids. Hey, you can learn from a bad example too.
Yeah.
But our family has fantastic memories of my father, for sure.
And you guys sit around the table and talk. What do you guys talk about?
I'm glad you brought it up, because that is an iconic memory of my father, and how much time we spent there. We go on for hours, and less so now because my kids are still younger. But anyway, what do we talk about? Well, we talk politics. We talk, what's new and exciting, and we talk business too, jobs and commerce and where people are. Yeah,
my dad, he always used to tell me, "You're never going to amount to anything because you procrastinate." And I said, "Oh yeah, you just wait." No, but my dad was, he was the most motivational guy in the world, but he could also put you in check as well. And it was a good mix, and I was lucky to have that. We used to sit around the table too, and we'd either talk football or business. Occasionally politics would come up, but talked a lot of sports.
The slam down's part of Dad's role. It's no fun, but I think we'd all agree that you got to get out the mallet every once in a while.
Yeah. I remember as a little kid, though, we didn't start off with, 40 employees at the videos, at the TV shop. My dad, we didn't have a lot of money. And for dinner, my mom, bless her, I don't know, she wasn't the best cook. But, I don't think my dad gave her a lot of a budgetary room there in the beginning, because we would have macaroni and tomatoes, right? So canned tomatoes and macaroni mixed together. And it was that we'd have that like 3 nights a week. And then on a good night, we might have macaroni and hamburger, right? So, it always struck me that, dinners around our house, they weren't around how great the food was at the beginning. It was more around the conversation. But I always remember every once in a while, we would get dessert, right? Or my mom would make biscuits. She would make something that we all, loved. And there were 4 kids all trying to get their grimy hands all over the food when there was something good out, like biscuits or pumpkin pie. And my dad never got any of that stuff, right? Because my dad had the mentality that the kids eat first, right? The kids got to eat first. And, we were growing kids, and we'd grab up the food, and by the time the pumpkin pie dish got around to my dad, he never seemed to get any. And my dad never complained. It's almost like he didn't like pumpkin pie. He didn't like biscuits. But I know later, I know he loved that kind of stuff. And but he ate last. And I think entrepreneurs got to eat last too, right? As entrepreneurs, we gotta let other people get at the front of the lunch line. We can't just get up there in the front and take all the food for ourselves. We gotta let our team eat. If we want to rally the troops around to fight, we're gonna have to let them get in the front of the line. If we're gonna think about our kids, you talked about thinking about our kids in relation to our businesses, right? To me, my businesses are like kids. They've got to grow. They've got to be nurtured. Their war chest has to be strengthened. Their balance sheets need to be strengthened. And, if you're not living the role of dad in your business, you're not feeding the kids first. Who is? It is up to us to set an example for how to live and how to work and how to have some fun. And so as I go to break here, I think we have a couple minutes left. I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the brave police officers and law enforcement officers of Orlando, Florida. They saved hundreds of lives last week. And to all law enforcement officers around the country. Never above you, never below you, always by your side.